I know, yeah, but there is a. Well, we haven't found it. That's for sure, and we've tried a few. So, fuck it. All right. So,
Right.
what the fuck we at? Right. I need to grab my desktop and bring that in. Yeah. So that was ideal. What all that stuff was. So what I'm doing with it is I'm turning it into a static user interface view
Mm-hmm.
because that's what I need to be able to understand how on earth to present all this stuff to a user. That's kind of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
part of the issue, right?
It was quite an interesting exercise because what I was using is a single bot without getting fancy in the back end, but having separate sessions. So I opened up, 6 separate sessions every time a new system prompt was proposed. I was just cutting and pasting, as you saw in the text,
Mm,
and there were a few things in it, and it's like, I told you about this, for fuck's sake.
I told you.
Um, so
Right,
it was
so
quite interesting on this side as well.
blah 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 blah. Okay, so this is the work I've been doing. Um, you are the Wall Street Journal story. And so I split out the article because obviously that we kind of want to pass that around by reference, not the full
Yeah,
text.
yeah, yeah.
So I'll start messing around with that. And the idea really is that, yeah, fuck it, I don't actually have a working version here, but let me show you what I'm trying to do. It always seems faster when it's just me, but then when I actually go, because this is what a friend of mine is, we've been talking about AI and accounting. It's like, go here, log in here, find this file, do this thing. Like,
Mm,
yeah, it's all possible, but the fact that you have to do it, you can burn a huge chunk of your day just doing that.
mm. Well, that's the kind of AI 1.5 that's coming. I'm expecting, by the way, my Rabbit any day now. Um, but those guys are kind of building AI on top of the clunky, horrible UI, you know,
Yeah, I still maintain that's
got.
the wrong way to go about it, but
Yeah, it is, but
we'll see.
it's a distinctive step on the way. But I agree, it's the wrong way to go about it.
Okay, so here's an example of a static story.
Hmm.
Now, what I think you're asking for is when when a bot gets called, I think you want to see a branch. Fuck me. Fuck. Fuck. Fuck me. Um, fuck. Was it fucking? What was it? TD? How did you do? How do I flip this fucking thing? Where are the docs? This is just stupid.
Don't know what you're trying to do here, but
I'm trying to flip the thing. I will.
I could just put my head on the side. That would work.
Well, your head's technically directly upside down relative to mine, but that doesn't really, doesn't really help us. Sorry. Like you are literally inverted right now.
Hey, everyone's got their own reference frame. You can't, this is the reference frame.
Absolutely, you can. Um, sorry. I need this because this is the head scratchy bit for me.
Yeah, no, this is a head scratchy bit for me because um, it's quite useful actually doing the raw because there's a lot I want to talk about how um,
Here,
frustrating it was, but also interesting enough, I was giving myself a reasonable task, write an article for the Wall Street Journal, and the steps on the human side, I think, need to be as considered as the bots.
okay. So
I'll
what I
go into
think
why in a sec. So, oh, there you go. You got it. You flipped
I
it.
got it now. Fuck. Hang on. I'm thinking. Um, commit branch bot 2.
Hold on a second. I'm probably going to go out for a second and be right back. Yeah.
That is a sweet get up you got. It's a pity your arms look like your arms actually go through your body right now. This is a neat trick.
Interestingly enough, they've chosen the camouflage of the UK armed forces and not the US, because the US would do this kind of pixelated.
Yeah, right.
I was trying to get my Mohican back, but I think that option's been taken away. It's a bit
racist.
Yeah, I know. Or I'd like to have a green Mohican, but that's been taken away by the overlords.
Fuck me. Fuck me.
So are we talking at your level, or are we talking at my chain of thought level?
Yours now, buddy. It's
Right,
getting
okay,
close
cool.
to that time
Nice.
when it's all
Yeah.
you.
I'm
And
looking
you
forward
will
to it.
never see the pain that I went through to make this world for you.
I'll never see daylight again.
Nah, and if it does, like, we got problems. We got fucking
Yeah.
problems. All right, so here's what I think is gonna happen is that so we got the orchestrator kicks off and is like, blah blah
Right.
blah.
Yep.
Here's all the shit. It's gonna be like, hey, bot 1, do your thing. Bot 2, do your thing. Bot 3, do your thing.
This is that runtime of actually asking it to do it as opposed to building it.
Oh god damn. Fuck.
Because those prompts were about build me a thing to do the thing I want to do, then do the thing.
Yeah, I know. And then there was a bit more of now explain the thing as well. How would that look? No, this is runtime. This is runtime because
all right, okay. So
build the thing was just the blue branch with none of the bot branches.
Not quite.
Because they never got executed. Well,
yeah.
Because what needs to happen is that each branch is an execution thread, and so while you were building the bots, you were only on one execution thread, and you were modifying files on the file system, like the file named bot1, bot2.
Yeah. Okay, so this was part of the frustration of that thread, that all those multiple threads that I gave through, was starting from a blank sheet of paper, thinking of this as ultimately a help. I wanted to write that article. I didn't tell it what the article was, so on, but I wanted to tell it what it meant to write the article. Now, that resulted in artifacts, files, prompts, and so on that are stored that can be run later, but that's exactly the same as writing an article. So, kind of at the top level, what I was trying to do is saying, here's help me figure out what the Wall Street Journal cares about. How do I do this, and so on. Those be stored away, and then apply any topic I want to this, which is what the help would be. But I think in terms of flow, it felt exactly the same as actually doing it. So I'll give you an example.
No, I
Uh,
get it. I don't need the
yeah,
example.
cool.
That is not. That leaves us with a problem.
Uh-huh.
Okay, well, why don't I explain how runtime works, and then we can try and work backwards and close and paint over a problem somehow.
Yeah. Okay. Go for it.
All right, so runtime is the request comes into the orchestrator, and it's like, hey, trigger bot swarm.
Yep.
Here's your blah blah blah. The orchestrator starts 3 new branches, or as many branches as there are bots. I ran out of patience fucking with how to type it, so there's no. But
That's
yeah,
fine. N bots. Yeah.
N bots. Each one goes off, and you can see it running independently.
Mm-hmm.
In the UI, you would be like the line here. If you can imagine that same line being one nested in,
Mm-hmm.
would be showing each bot.
Yep. Yep. I've
So
seen that
that
before.
each one of those lines is meant to be this line, but just bumped in.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you wanna expand it, you'd need to like click on it, and it will sort of take up more space, because the issue is like trying to pack in huge blocks of text when you've got them sort of happening in parallel.
Well, also, if you present text to the user, you're implying that they need to read it. And so,
Right.
yeah.
So it's really, I wanted to present it as a, you can look in here if you want, but by default, this is just the engine under the
Yeah.
hood. Now, some people like to look there, and some people don't, but
Yeah.
it's there if you want it. Was the idea, and then these things would ultimately merge back. I don't know if I can. This is just me being. I don't know what the term is. Facetious, I think the term might be.
I like that word. I'm facetious quite a lot, and as in fact, as often as I can be.
Okay, turns out I don't know how to do that, because I wanted to merge. Anyway, iPad, retract it immediately. The bots merge back, and then in the UI that gives you're back to the original line, and then you start seeing the summary results here. Is that the right way to do it?
Can I trace through with our example? So I start saying I want to write this article. Okay, here is a really shitty draft. Let's get it assessed. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
These guys go assess, and they come back saying, yeah, you got 75 out of 100, whatever it is, and you got 60 here, you improved it. They're talking at the kind of meta level, so they're talking about grammar, talking about whether it's completely correct, that sort of thing.
Right.
There is a decision point here where I need to re-edit, and then these guys go off and give their responses again. If we can go down.
Well, you want to loop it, right? Like that's the creative loop, the creative cycle, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So that'll work still.
Yeah. And that feels the same. Or not reintroduce it, but that feels the same as actually creating the help in the first place. It's like I don't really know what I want. I kind of do.
Are you saying that the process by which you created the help would have been guided by a similarly arranged bot swarm that you would loop through, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So
airdrop in instead of I want to write a
right.
I want to write a bot swarm.
Okay, so there seems to be a pattern there, which is how the architect, or the thing that's helping guide you through the creation, knows how to break things up.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so all that would happen is you and I would agree on a version of the bot swarm creator that we liked, and
Yep.
then we would publish that, and people would start using that to build these bot swarms and start looping around and all that. And then once you've got a bot swarm, you'll be able to grab it like this, and then you can like pipe it and connect it. You can pipe it to anywhere you like, and then connect it up to other bot swarms, have it run continuously, all those kinds of things, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And the interesting thing is when I was doing that raw and shitty version, um, I didn't really know what the Wall Street Journal wants, and so this is the advisory. It's like, okay, so I'll tell you what
The
Wall Street Journal.
commissioner, huh?
Yeah, yeah. It's like, okay, so go out and check. Okay, Wall Street Journal, editorial guidelines are this, and therefore, in order to meet that, you need these bots. I wouldn't be able to. I shouldn't be asked to say what the bots are.
No, it's there to help you, right? And
Yeah.
then as we build up libraries of popular versions that have been used successfully, we'll sort of slant or lean our recommendations towards what the current flavor is.
Well, yeah, but that'll be down to usage. If it's useful,
Yeah,
then
yeah,
it's
yeah.
more powerful.
Okay, so the UI then is going to be sort of like this, but each dot is the same as the dots in the diagram here. I wonder if I can be fancy with the fucking windows. Okay. And then each dot there is a dot here. They'll be nested. You can only when you click on each one, I'm imagining it sort of concertinas the others to the side, or collapses them so that how
see.
there's
So, yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, because otherwise,
Yeah.
like the issue I'm trying to deal with is the logic of how this works is fine. How the fuck to display it without it being like cumbersome as hell?
Yeah.
But and at the same time display it in a standard way so that I can use the same display mechanism for any kind of bot swarm or any kind of parallel processing.
So here's the thing. All right. Well, it's probably wrong, but I have a thought. These are asynchronous, right? We don't know how long each are going to come back, and what we're asking is, you do this and come back when you've got something useful to say. Now, while that's happening, this one may come back with something useful as well. So on this side, what seems reasonable is, okay, you go that, you branch out, and I've got 2 branches. They go down, 3 branches going down. One comes across, and it's like, okay, I've got your answer. And then the other 2, in this case, continue. This one has an answer. This one takes a long time, has an answer, and so on. Now, is that confusing? Because what you're getting is you're asking, effectively, with bots, you're asking multiple questions, saying, hey guys, go and answer this question. Come back when you have an answer. But your train of thought is still in this main thread.
Yep.
So you can ask a question and then get the answers out of sync with your question.
What's wrong with that?
Probably what I would do is I'd wait for all of them to come back, and I'll just feel happy that there appeared to be something happening.
What I would do is that if I ever had to wait, I would immediately switch topic to some other thing that I was doing, and then I'd want to come back. So I feel like it's right.
No, that's better. Yeah.
And like I do that with ChatGPT. Like I'll chat until I know it got what I wanted, and then it starts generating, and I go off and do something else, and then come back.
Yeah.
And so this main thread is really representing a topic, I think, and you should be able to jump around all
So
the
here's
time.
the thing. In terms of presentation, so I've asked a question here. It requires these two bots. The bots go and do their bot stuff.
Mm.
At this point, an indication that all the bots that have answered this question have come back, because that's the next decision point. It's like, when are you asking Dave to, do anything?
Mm.
At this point, you've only got one bot's back, and so you don't really know what the full answer is.
Yeah, but there's nothing that should be stopping Dave from being like, and when you're done, do this other thing. And so,
Yeah, I do that a lot actually.
right, that seems
Yeah.
to be, we shouldn't fight that because that gives you a feeling of
Well, that would be if you
conflict
did it.
with Dave, with
Okay.
Hal.
So, say if this is a question from Dave, and that's the final response from these two bots. Dave gets bored at this point, and he asks
Mm.
another question.
Mm.
Then that would go out to another stream.
Well, no, not necessarily, because the beauty of what we have is parallel GPT. So if Dave says something here, we will fire up a new instance of GPT that says, now look, what are we doing? Are we starting a new thread? Are we going to tell Dave that thank you, we will do that when all the bots have returned? Are we going to abort the current process? Like the issue with ChatGPT is you only get one live thread and you either stop it or you wait for it. Whereas for us, we can go and it can add more things, and you can see this other activity happening off over here. If Dave convinces Hal that Hal should abort what it's doing here, it can halt all these things based on
That's
what was
actually
being
quite
said
interesting because you probably have the same experience. You put in a prompt, and Hal goes off on a fucking romp, and it's like, no, no,
here.
no, 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 no.
Yeah. Or you realize something about what you said or didn't say that
Right.
triggers an idea, and you're like, oh no, wait, and so you should. One of our governing rules should be that we would never, ever, ever cause Dave to feel like he needs to wait. He should be able to just dump his brain as raw and out of ordered and everything in, and we will sort it. We will find the right branch that he meant to do, and
Yep.
we will control all the parallel tasks based on as best we can figure out for his intent, which may change.
Yes. Yeah.
And so it's almost like this isn't quite accurate because there's almost like this main thread is the bot swarm running, but there's one before it, which is Dave's chat back and forth that caused Hal to decide to trigger the bot swarm.
Well, this is remember. Yeah, I agree. Remember, we've got the only interface is Dave and Hal. Hal is the one that's calling the orchestrator for a particular task. So, Hal is your
Right. Hal's the driver. Hal's the
your
caddy
silicon,
almost.
yeah, your silicon buddy that's fun to be with, kind of thing.
Right. Right. So, okay. So this, you think this interface will work? Because the sad thing is, I don't have a backup.
No, I think it will.
This is definitely the data. This is definitely the data structure that we have to have, but I also think it fits extraordinarily well. So
the one thing I say is, say if right, bot one in this case has made a couple commits and has come back as a merge request. It would be good to go back and say, no. Actually, what I meant to say is this.
yeah, and so what you would see there is that would be because when you set it, there would have been this other branch out the side here, which I'll fuck. I want to do it.
Need a bot for this, man.
Thank you. That's Okay, so we did that swarm. I apologize for how painful this is. There will be a bot for this coming soon.
All this is going to be painful for the next.
No, not long, not long, buddy. I promise you, not long.
No, it's just going to be less painful for you, more painful for me.
That's what I want.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, here we go. So, the scenario you just described is Dave's like, I feel like running the bot swarm now.
Yeah.
Or, whatever, right? It triggers. The bot swarm begins. And then Dave's like, hey, I meant to say cat, not dog. And so what you would see then is all these ones that have like a red cross pop up because they all got terminated.
Yeah.
And then it would start again.
Yeah, exactly. So say if, trivially, this was the article thing and, well, not quite, the diagram's not quite right, but you triggered off,
I'm sorry. This is not quite.
Well, let's say there's you write an article and there's 3 things that you're assessing it by, and one comes back. Say one's grammar, grammar and spelling. One, and the other 2 are more esoteric. And the grammar one comes back saying, you spelled this wrong, or this. You should be able to edit this at this point with the feedback from the grammar, who's come back very quickly, and then feedback that into.
But would you expect the swarm to restart with that new information, or would you expect something else to happen?
Traditionally restart because you've changed the goalposts. But if it's a minor change, say if you just
right. So I could. What if I went and said, hey, I'm here, and I say I want to change what happened here to this other thing. And then I want to restart or rerun everything following that. Right, because that is an example of us doing rewriting history. Because we're like, we go back here, we fork, we continue on, and then we pull in everything else as though we were always the righteous branch. And then you get your results like that. Like, that's a pretty valid workflow.
It is, isn't it? Okay, give me an analogy. Say on the article, it's using Zs where quite rightly you should be using Ss, for synthesize, for example. Quite a minor change. And then the grammar bot turns up saying you're using American grammar, English grammar, of what you're doing. That doesn't actually impact on any of the other thought processes here. So it's like when we get to the end, let's go back through this, what this bot has proposed, and likewise, if it's complete or correct or whatever else we got, it's almost like what you want at the end is. Well, as you go through, you want recommendations. Now, let's go back to our analogy with having an infinite number.
Hang on, mate. You lost me. You just jumped off somewhere, and I felt like I was going to get some information from you. But you just jumped off.
No. I apologize. That's because I'm actually thinking this up on the fly, which makes it very low quality stuff.
It's hard to follow. I mean, it's like, where did that bot go?
One way, so the train of thought was that when these things kick off, there's still a merge event here, which is the what I was talking about yesterday about there needs to be some kind of decision. You could automate that, sure.
So there needs to be. So you're talking about the decision to be like, that's great.
Yes.
So
if these 3 bots,
I think what you might be suggesting is that down here I can make an extra tweak here, and then fast forward on to just look at the final output based on my little tweak back in history.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So
Yeah.
say
So
if
that's easy.
you agree
That's
with bot
easy
one, yeah. Well, I think
because
yeah,
I can just say over here I can be like, hey Hal, bot one, after it got to this point, I want it to do this other thing, and it would make that change and then re-execute all the affected things, right? So it's not that's not going to affect bot 2 because bot 2 is already ballistic at this point. It's
right,
unaffected by anything else,
yeah.
but Swarm will be affected by the new output of bot 1, and these commits will be affected by or will re-execute based on the change to bot 1's final output back into Swarm.
Yeah,
Yeah?
yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense to you, right? So thinking
Well,
about this as
that's,
a team,
yeah.
you got 6 members of human team. You give each a task, and human number one comes back, and you say, "No, that's not right. Go and redo that." You don't want to affect the other guys who are just still cracking on.
No.
Uh, and at
But
the end, you want a bunch of rectifications.
that's the fundamentals of independent agents.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
the isolation property of their execution that you want to
Right.
leverage.
Yeah, and you want your team, your human team, saying if human one comes back saying, the boss has said this is shit, I'm going to have to redo it, and it affects you, number three, but everyone else is cool.
Okay, so the user interface, I'll just try and smush that all in nicely somehow, but I'll make it so that it feels like we're giving top priority to the um to that main thread. Like this top level thread is always where your input box is.
To me, that makes sense because you want one thing to converse with.
Yeah,
But what
like
we're doing here,
this is Hal. This is how
yeah,
you're having the chat with Hal, and all these other things are just tools that Hal is managing on your behalf.
right. But what you want
Right?
to know is you want to have a peek inside of, as far as you're concerned, there's only Hal. But you want to
Mm.
have a peek inside of the various things that Hal is using in order to come back
Yeah,
to you with an answer.
yeah. Like you want to have a look, and I, for some addictive reason, I just want to show visually the streaming effect of AI text being generated massively in parallel. So
Oh
that
yeah. Oh,
like
sorry,
I
I forgot
love
to say this. I love this. I love this. I don't know what you call it. Stream trickle. You know, this stream of consciousness kind of thing.
right.
That's really nice.
Right. And
Sorry,
so if we
that's
can
fast.
present that and show the liveliness of it, like I actually got a bit of a thrill when I first saw AutoGPT kick off with multiple agents trickling down real
Yeah.
time AI generated text. I was like, well, that's cool. And so the fact that you can run this workbench and it make you feel like you're spinning a bunch of plates because you can sort of fire off all these processes and then go back and do other stuff or
Right.
navigate around. So I guess like where does the state board fit in all that?
Um. Well. It
Because this
works
is
out as
just the
a
chat.
flowchart as
This is
opposed to
just
well, this the state change. As far as Dave's concerned, is here and here. That's the state change.
right, but those are chat interactions. That's the conversant nature of a chat.
Mm.
That's not the state board. The state board is something more permanent.
Yes, but the state board is nested in well. Oh shit!
So
There's a phone.
okay, so
Can we?
should this? Sorry, you're right.
Sorry, my phone's going. Can I
Okay, sure.
find out who that is? I'll be right back.
All right.
sorry about that. Problem with having lots of Apple devices, everything goes off at once when you get a call.
That ain't the only problem. All right. So here's another proposition for you. What if everything to the right hand side of main was the state board, and this was just a live dynamic way of navigating multiple processes, but this was your chat. This is your chat, and it sort of grounds you. It's like this is where you always talk, and then you could look inside these things, and you could refer to them. No.
Where's the canonical state though? Because these are suggestions, right? Which might be wrong. So at this commit, green doesn't know what blue's doing. So
That's right.
There's no universal state change there in terms.
There's been no merge. Blue. There's no merge state, right?
Right. And so between here and here, there is a state change, but it's like a nested state change, and it's almost like a.
It's an isolated state change.
Yeah. Right. The one you're really interested in is this one that you're actually talking to. You get insight by looking at these.
Right.
And maybe you want to go back and saying, no, you made bot number one, you made a mistake here. Can you redo that? But that's, I don't know how you do that in this state chart, but it's like a nested state. There needs to be a canonical state that's actually it. These are all suggestions until it comes back to main.
Well, they're all children, so they're less important than main.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
what are you?
You got the state here.
So you're saying no to the state board thing, or
I'm trying to figure out how you actually write down a state board. So the
this is really the fundamental problem, right? We know that the data structure is this, and it's good, but what does it mean to the user, and how would they like to see it?
Well, the display, I think, I like this. But
you like it because it's summarized. Like inside there, what drill down ability are we giving? Like here's the text expands to be huge. How do we make that show up here without having just this massive jumble of expanding, collapsing pieces?
Well, here's another way to think about it: is the so what? What are we asking Dave to do? So all these bots are working hard. Come back. With a bunch of suggestions. We're asking Dave, is this what you meant? Certainly what you said. That might be different.
Yep.
And it's like, no, guys, no, bot number one, sorry, I didn't give you,
right.
clear instructions here. So there's, it's almost like these are off doing recommendations down to an event, and that event is the main state. Now, each of these have their own state, of course, because it's actually doing work, and that work might be a workflow. It might be quite complex. Yeah, a few of these. But going back until Dave says, yeah. And it might say yeah to this one, it might say no to the green, yeah to this one, etc. And then you'd have to redo a part of it. So there's, it's almost like there's if we take the initial state as your starting state, and Dave's got an action that he needs to be carried out. It's not carried out until all these have agreed, but in between, some of it might be agreed and some of it might not be. If that makes sense. So
it doesn't make sense. I understand what you're saying, but I'm not getting an answer to my question.
Yeah, it's because I don't know the answer. I'm working it through.
Are you the green state?
So
right.
Okay. So to boil it down, what are we asking Dave to do when all these bots come back with their, with the results? In terms of
what are you asking Dave to do? Well, fundamentally, you're asking him, do you want to keep paying for this line of calculation, or Do you want to do it again? Do you want to save the results? Do you
Or do
want
you
to
want to
change
delegate?
the sys prompt? Do you want to reprogram one of the bots?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And the state seems to be you put in, okay, this is what I want, or this sort of thing happens, and my next decision point is do I accept the results of all this? Maybe I accept one and reject the others, and so on. And so there's more branching going on, but that's still a partial state. So, for example, let me try and make this clear. Say bot 1 was doing one task, bot 2 was doing another one. Bot 1 comes back with a perfect answer, bot 2 is completely gone off the rails. And so you're asking Dave, saying, hey, we've got this answer for you. And he goes, no, bot 2. That's not what I meant at all. Redo that. Bot 1 state is should not be recalculated because it's good. Bot 2 needs to recalculate. So there's the overall state change between this is my question, this is my answer, and in between there is this is my partial answer. It's getting a bit better. Yeah, okay, I'm good with that, and that's actual answer.
Doesn't help my interface problem.
No, well, your interface is good. Okay,
no, it's
so
not. No, it's not.
no,
Because
to roll back.
Look at the size of these boxes, and
I thought you're gonna collapse them though.
yeah, but you're gonna get this fucking thing that looks like a massive bunch of disorganized Venetian blinds, like, and this is just a very simple case. What if you got 10 bots? Like,
so
that gets real noisy real fast. One of my questions to you is, should everything but main be technically the state board? It can look the same as this, but by making it the state board, we would sort of dissolve some of the, like, this feels very permanent, this structure. It gives me a sense of solidity that, if I made it more dynamic and more queryable and more summarizable, because for example, what happens if I'm Dave here and I've got 3 full swarms running and I say, hey, Hal, give me a summary of how each swarm is going. Keep it updated every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
You know?
I see where you're driving at. Okay, so to go back to our 3-box idea, the Hal is your best buddy. The box is what you're doing. You're really talking to your best buddy. That's it.
The box.
The state board is there to be helpful about, have you just gone off and
right? Because really, all this shit, like this button, this button, this button, this button, all these user interface things are all about how the fuck to get the intent out of me into this machine, whereas we want to avoid all that fucking user interface nightmare by using chat. Because a simple example is, what if I want to scope down just to bot 1, and in particular these 2 commits of bot 1? I should be able to say, hey, I want to blah 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 blah.
Yes.
You know, right. So this, I think, needs to be a dynamic view that is generated on the fly. Otherwise, you can't navigate the vastness of.
Yeah, because it could get really large. Okay, so
huge.
By analogy, say if you're installing like a number of packages on Linux. Okay, so you say install that, you get a whole bunch of text, and it's like it goes down, streams up way faster.
I like that.
Well, yes, it's comforting, right?
It is.
But it's emotionally comforting. What you really want to do is when it gets to error. So that's all state board stuff. And when it gets to error, what would be great is it actually pings up and Hal says,
"Oh yeah, okay." So let me give you an example of what I think the user interface, the real time user interface, should look like. So this is an example of what I would expect the thing to look like, right? So here's this thing running right now would be each one of these is a commit.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
when it
Sorry, go on.
completes, it collapses. But while it's running, it's like streaming hard.
Right. And what you want is a smiley face for every,
Right. Right.
It's like what you want to do is be able to scan the state board saying, okay, all looks good. Okay, it's going to take 2.5 minutes. Fine. Carry on, guys.
Right. So that's.
But then Hal needs to point out, because these are asynchronous, this might still be streaming past. And he says, actually, this bot's come back and
right.
I disagree. You need to do this, but the rest still streams.
Right. And so I should be able to navigate around just like I can here, and I can focus on a particular branch, and what you're seeing here should be what I see if I focus on a particular branch.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because, I mean, it's emotionally comforting stuff to know that your bot's off working hard.
Right, and so each commit then becomes like this little tick, and if I wanna unfold it, I can, like it'll open up for me, and show me everything that went on inside it to give me more insight.
And you could also do nesting that way, couldn't you? If you wanted to drill
down. Right, because you could fold the child processes inside of this one as well. And I think what I'm thinking is that you can navigate it with your mouse, but you can also navigate it by HAL, by telling HAL something, and it will scope, or it will sort of mash up this dashboard. Like if you're like, show me all the errors, and it's like, here.
Tell me what bot one has been up to.
Right, or follow bot 3, and then it immediately goes and you see the live streaming thing. And so the component I need to make is this component, but to make it drivable by HAL so that it can present views that don't exist, like views that are derived on the fly.
Yes, but the kind of visual architecture of the streams is quite good. The CLI example you just given is also good, but it's serial in nature. And
what do you mean? What's wrong with that?
No, there's nothing wrong with that other than we can have bots going in parallel. So
right. Right. So that would be the same as just another window like this. That's just happening.
Yes.
Like it could be a child of this one.
Yeah. Because you think about why would you ever want to drill down? You're going to go from the gross to the fine. You don't want to go straight to the fine because you don't have the information that's going there. So it's like, okay, so the grammar checker's gone wrong. Grammar checker's gone off to this. There's a couple of nested bots. You want to be able to drill down. You don't want to be presented with that at the start because that is just madness. Recursion would be difficult to show.
No, I don't think so, because it's just a tree. But my point that I'm trying to make is that if I can make this interface controllable just in time by HAL, then if you have a very complex recursion, I can ask HAL to generate a synthetic view of that recursion that is easy for me to understand and is kept updated in real time.
Yeah.
Whereas if I go about just trying to make, fancy UI elements that give you even more deeper drill down ability, that's going to be a path to fail. So I the key to me seems to be the user interface components are very, very simple and sort of blocky, but they don't do, they're mostly readable as opposed to interactable, but they can be combined by text, by chat with HAL, and so HAL is all the form fields and the drop down menus and the sliders and the HAL does the bells and whistles that gives you a richer view.
What do you mean by bells and whistles?
The bells and whistles, like see here. Oh, this is not a good example, but over here I've got these extra buttons that I can click. There's all I can do a search. You know, I've got all this clutter, all this bells and whistles. I've got like, you know, knobs and dials and things that I can click and turn. The theme seems to be the UI components we need for jitters have none of this. They're just very, very simple and clear, but they are generated on the fly, or the data within them is generated on the fly. It appears like the fundamental repeating tile in the recursion is this nested tree thing. And so if I can make, if I can simply make this UI, if this is one branch, if I added tree ability to it, then it starts to look like Windows Explorer in a way, or Finder. You know, it's a tree, and you're exploring a tree.
Yes, I think it probably. What you want HAL to do is to point out what you need to concentrate on. Here's your filter with all this activity. The activity,
right.
I agree.
That's one way. That's one way. But you also want Dave to be able to drill down arbitrarily finely, if he wants. I didn't hear any of your reply there. Sorry, you broke up.
Oh, sorry.
You're back now.
You want to be able to. So, number one, HAL needs to point out things for Dave's attention, and the second thing is Dave needs to point out things for HAL's attention. So, see if it all executed correctly, but it was what he asked for, but not what he meant. HAL doesn't know that.
Right. Yeah. Right. So you should be able to drill down into this particular branch, this particular commit, and then do something like reply to, and then chat about that very narrow thing that you picked out.
Yeah, exactly. You want to see
so you want to go hunting and pecking to get the tiny little thing, and then you want to haul it back to the butcher's block, which is this main thread, and then you attack it with chat, as opposed to a bunch of twiddly little buttons that I had to guess about what you might want to do there.
Exactly. Okay. So to summarize, from Dave's perspective, Dave asks how to do a thing. All this happens, and there's a whole bunch of activity here, most of which Dave ignores because he's getting a coffee. And there's something that pops
trying to get the printer to work.
Exactly. You're going for a piss or something. And HAL notices something. Maybe it's reported up, say, by a judge bot saying, actually, the output from this was not right because Dave specified it. HAL needs to pop that up. Now, that needs to, I think, well, on this suggestion, that comes back into HAL's window, and he says, actually, these bots, I don't understand what the fuck you were talking about.
Right, so you could get this sort of an inbox-like thing where it's like, hey, whoa, hey.
Right. So HAL raises problems that are raised by this arbitrary bot swarm.
Yeah, because HAL's the overseer. It's like the project manager, and it only really brings things to Dave's attention when it's a fucking problem, right?
Exactly.
But
It's
you
report by
really
exception.
need that. You really need that because you're like, I am currently managing, 100 parallel AI processes doing
Right.
things that are experimental in nature that I hope to learn from. So you can guarantee that some of them are going to go a bit wild and they're going to expose some questions that I need to have my attention drawn to.
Exactly. So, exactly the point. So, how reports by exception saying, this is a bit, fucked up. Did you really mean that? I need more input. And then that goes back into the swarm. The other thing is Dave gets the output and going, that's not what I meant. Now, there's a couple of things. Dave should be able to talk to Hal saying, hold on, this output was not what I was expecting, but
Right.
at a granular level. And if Hal and Dave can't articulate that properly, what Dave should be able to do is to go back through the history and go, right, okay, you fucked up here, haven't you? How? He's fucked up here.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah. So what I'd imagine is happening
Mhm.
is that you would go, you'd select that particular commit or series of commits, and then you'd go, hey Hal, I didn't like the first commit because it used the color purple and I'm actually colorblind, and then second of all, it did not pay homage to something, something, something. And then
Mm-hmm.
that's your,
Right.
that's what
Yeah,
you
yeah,
did, right?
exactly. And
It's not,
how has the knowledge of the tree about, okay, so this is how
yeah,
the
yeah,
bots are talking about. And it's like, okay, and then let's rerun, the color purple
right.
and
And
make
so,
something, something, something.
yeah. And then what I can also have happen is that, okay, so right now that would cause a couple new commits down here where I'm dealing with the color purple and all that. And then I might be like, yo, what was that article about again? And then that would actually cause you to fork from up here,
Mm-hmm.
and now you've sort of switched back to a different train of thought,
Mm-hmm.
and you should be able to go, oh, and what's for lunch? And then that's another branch that you may have already started, or it will start a new branch so that you can do context switch. Because,
That's nice. Even in the context of doing a single task, you could say, what if I wanted you to change this part of my prompt? Um,
sorry, say
so
that
that
again. What
so
if I wanted you to change this part of my prompt?
yeah, yeah. Because what I'm thinking about is like the creative cycle around Hal and Dave. We're the only two main players, and
Yeah,
everyone else is slaves.
right.
So Dave says something, Hal gives a response, and it's like, yeah, okay, let's imagine that I wanted to have an article about I don't know Catholics versus Protestants. And it's like, well, what if it was Protestants versus Catholics? Yeah, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then rerun that, and then make a decision because it's that creative cycle between Hal and Dave that is the interesting thing. Because also, to go back, I'm not diverging here. I'm actually reinforcing what we're saying. If if there is a problem, Hal should bring it to Dave after his prompt, and Dave can sort it. And then rerun. It's like, is that still a problem? That's fine. So that's report by exception. The other thing is Dave could have asked something that has been perfectly executed but wasn't actually what he was meaning,
Mm.
and so can drill down and because you got the drill down on this side, you can say, well, everything else is fine, but color purple, nah. And then you get the response back, but the Dave looking into the thinking allows it to be refined, and Hal being able to look at the thinking allows report by exception. So Hal was trying his best to understand what the fuck Dave's going on about, and Dave down here thinks, actually it wasn't that clear. It's gone a bit wrong here. Let's refine that part. So there's of the three box. I agree with the your thought about let's get the nested screed that goes up and is available there on the state board. Hal is there to point out what's important in that screed.
And to modify Dave, it as well.
Right, yeah. And Dave is got the ability to look into that screed and then talk to Hal about
a specific thing or group of things. So you can come in here and you can hit the control button to multiple select, and you're like, I want this range of things.
Sweet. Yeah.
And then you really fire up the mic and you just say what you're thinking. It doesn't have to be precise. It can be, and that beats any number of buttons.
Yeah, absolutely. And the important thing is the Dave Hal interface is the only interface that Dave can actually hold in his head at one time. He's talking to one thing, but they're talking about all this stuff that's going past.
Yeah, he can talk. He can
collaborating.
Yeah, so Dave and Hal are bot masters, but Dave can't control bots on his own because he's only got an opposing thumb. He doesn't have silicon.
Yeah.
And Hal is his amplifier or his tool for controlling the bot swarms.
Right.
So
this is getting good.
Okay. So if I wanted to talk directly to bot 1, I could sort of tell Hal to do a sort of a shell mode where I'm like, hey Hal, I want to converse directly with bot 1 for a moment starting here, and then Hal could facilitate that for you.
Well, that's an interesting one. You could I don't know which is best. You could say Hal, I want to talk to bot 1, but bot 1 might be quite stupid. Alternatively, you could say Hal, talk to bot 1 and get his arsenal.
Yeah, you prefer to tell Hal to sort bot 1 out with your intent, but because you're trying to program them to be specific, I think is the fundamental driving principle of the platform. It's like make small bots that do one thing very well.
Yeah, because these guys are going to be really stupid, but Hal knows all about you.
Yeah, Hal is broad, bots are narrow, but all the narrow bots coordinated correctly can do more than Hal ever can, but they suck to interact with directly.
Yeah, so Hal is like, I don't know, your COO and saying, right, the dev team's fucked up.
Right.
Go and talk to
That's
Jimmy.
right. That's
Get
right.
Sorted out.
That's right. Okay.
That feels really good, actually.
All right. So I'll keep working on that. That makes sense to me.
Sorry, that was so painful to get to that conclusion, but that feels really good. So lots of activity here. They can pop in and then ask Hal, and then Hal pushes by exception.
Yeah, because I feel like you see my problem, right? Like you could have literally 1,000 bots kick off all at once.
Oh yeah.
Or the other thing that's pretty interesting to think about is 1,000 instances of bot 1 processing a different file each.
Right.
And that just goes like pring, like just goes like
exactly
right off the screen.
Yeah. And then you add to that, Dave changes his mind halfway down, but only for one bot stream.
And so this gives a good interface where, like, if you're about to do something 10,000 times, you can be like, hey, Hal, I just want to test this out with just, say, 3 customer records.
Yeah.
And then you just have this little throwaway disposable chat where you make sure it's the right thing. And then when you get to here and you're like, okay, Hal, do that to all the records. And it's just like, sure thing, Dave. Bang. And then...
Right. Yeah. And that's the... by the raw stuff sent over, the frustration was, yeah, okay, right, yeah, but how? Come on. Uh, so the response was not quite right, and
Mm.
getting it quite, refining it.
Mm.
That refinement is, I think, most of the Dave Howe interaction. It's like,
Yeah, that's pretty much it, right? But that
yeah,
if you do it right, that's quite a pleasing interaction because Hal gives you more ideas
yeah,
faster,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then you're like, oh yeah, no, yeah, and so you're learning more about what you wanted as you go.
yeah. I did a test a couple of days ago. I was trying to, it's like a reductio absurdum. I was trying to get how to help me write a poem in the style of Rabbie Burns, and that kind of correction both directions was really helpful, and that was what was
Correction,
involved.
both directions. It sounds like a
Yeah.
fucking album. Um,
But yeah, okay, good. I think we're in
all
a good
right,
place there.
that
Does
works.
that
Okay,
is that doable?
yeah,
Your
absolutely.
side? Yeah.
Absolutely. So I can use the same UI components that I use for the main thread, but I just make them much more just in time in this state board. They're not
Yeah.
concrete. Like the main thread holds continuity because it's the stable place. It's the safe place.
Right.
It's
Exactly. Exactly. So you
yeah.
got Hal up here, you got
It's
Dave
the
down here,
coherence.
and you've got the fire hose over here.
Right. This is dynamic. The state board is the dynamic area,
Yeah.
and the consistent area is this thread with Hal.
Right.
Now, the thread with Hal can fork when you change topics, but you can actually view that in the state board from the main chat. So, for example, you're here and you're like, "Hey, Hal, show me all my show me all my ADHD threads that I haven't finished at the moment," and it will draw the state board of like you
Yeah,
said
yeah,
you
yeah.
wanted to
Which is your
turn it.
shell thing. You can
Yeah,
branch off.
yeah,
I've got.
and you yeah,
Sorry.
and it's like here's
Um,
all these unfinished things from the past half hour, and then
we're still working
you
on them. We'll get back.
right. Right. And then instead of having to even, you could pick on each individual one and carry on with it,
Oh, that's really
or
sweet.
you could just be like, I need to order some flowers. I need to pick up some fish for dinner. I had an idea about how to make a smartwatch that was attached to my vacuum cleaner, and I also was thinking about going on holiday. And so you're kind of like, you can
Ah, right,
you can
because
hit all
how's
of them.
reporting back? Either it's complete and worth review, or by exception, there's a problem that's been.
Yeah, yeah, but
Um,
it means that you can see. So in our version, it would it would Hal would marshal each piece of information into the relevant branch
yeah,
and tick it forwards, even though you gave it in as a jumble.
yeah, yeah. So there'll be separate branches for each of these.
Yeah, like the flower
But
ordering is now like a branch.
yeah, so what you see is a whole bunch of fucking fire hose coming at you. But I was saying, okay, right, I'm working on them all. Let me get back to you. And it's like, oh,
Mm,
okay, there's a problem. We don't know what kind of flowers. You haven't said what kind of flowers.
right.
And everything else continues with the fire hose.
Yeah, that's right. And so what I expect to be able to do is I expect to be able to write on the fly a Gantt chart. Like I should be able to present back to you thing. You're like, okay, show me the project status of my life at the moment, and you got like order flowers, then the fish, the
Yeah,
you got
okay.
and this is pretty easy to do because it's just generated in plain text where Hal's just writing you a summary report and I'm just rendering this diagram as much as I can as the text is streaming out.
Mm,
Anyway, that's separate to what
Yeah,
that's separate to what we're talking about.
I
But
prefer the fire hose of everything coming down in the
yeah,
stream.
I know
Yeah.
that, but I'm illustrating the
what
jitter notion.
right? What you're talking about here is multiple, potentially nested, but multiple busy bars. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
flowers, boom, 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 boom.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I can ask complicated questions about them that as a application designer, you and I have no fucking way to know ahead of time that the user's going to ask for it. Like, they might be like, calculate the time it takes by looking at all the other times I ordered flowers. So you can ask for it to be intelligently crafted as opposed to just direct data. Like, it can have opinions in here as well.
Yeah, that's just a refinement of the busy bar. I mean, Gantt chart's basically a bunch of busy bars. With
yeah, I'm trying to get across that it's a just-in-time generation, and that the Gantt chart is a different type of view. Like
yeah, I see what you're saying. So rather than have the fire hose of everything's coming down,
the fire hose is the base view. It's like, the fire hose is like the default view that you get. It's the rawest view that you could possibly get. But then there's all these other ways to view that same data. One of them is a Gantt chart.
That would certainly be nicer for wee Mrs. Miggins at accounts, who probably doesn't want a fire hose.
Look, I mean, like, when this number of bots gets past 12, you want a summary.
Yeah.
You're gonna want a summary very quick. I will bet money on that.
Okay, so I see the value in that. It's kind of one or the other. It's difference between people like GUI busy bars versus CLI. Let's give you everything that's just happened. Yeah. Okay.
Look, they got graphs now. Ha!
Yeah.
Ooh, that looks like a marketing exercise.
I've always been suspicious about those. It's just like, show me the data. Don't show me.
Like, what? It's like, give me a fucking smiley face on my graph.
It's like a 1D slice of a 3D world.
Right, and so okay, so that's, I can work with that.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that we'll come up with a few things to summarize. See if we're in sync here. The Dave only interacts with Hal. Hal deals with. You can ask Hal to deal with the various parts that you get in the state chart, and saying actually no, that's not right. But you're talking to Hal. Hal reports by exception, and so Hal is quite quiet. Whereas you got all this activity, which is pleasing and
very noisy,
satisfying, but you don't need to read any of it. Yeah. And then Hal comes back by exception, or he says, "Yep, okay, Dave, we've done that," and then Dave can look in on the state chart. Tell Hal saying in NL, no, that's not right. Here's why, and Hal can figure out which bot to correct, or Dave, if he's so minded, can go into the history of the fire hose and go, I see what's going on here. Specifically, boom, do that. That feels good. And then you got the busy bar Gantt. If it gets
and then there's level, also all the other jitter-like components, like that sorting thing that I was telling you about. Like, if you want to sort a bunch of files or some information, you don't want to do that in natural language. You want to have a widget that lets you drag and drop things.
Right. But one thing we've not talked about is we've got the fire hose coming down, but the solution can generate a complete UI with buttons and that you can interact directly with. But the process of generating that UI is still the fire hose.
Correct.
So if it comes up and you get the UI...
Correct, right. So another way of saying what this view is about is that this is the lowest level
Yep.
that you can ever get to,
Right.
and everything else is going to process or refine this view. This is the rawest view you can ever get.
Yeah. And if it's appropriate for the task, when HAL says it's done, on the state chart turns into a jitter with buttons and ways to
Yeah.
interact and
Yeah.
so on.
All sorts
Yeah.
of things.
That feels really good.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Actually, no, it does feel quite good. Looking over to the wall there, back to our friends who've done this first, that 3-box thing is holding up. You don't want to add anything to that because you got the primary interaction and then you got the result, which is what we've been talking about here. It's just what level of result should you be able to drill down into.
Yeah, and you should be able to go as deep or as high as you want.
Right.
And you should be able to name your views that you arrange and configure to your own liking. And so you can call up a view using natural language, and HAL will be like, oh, yeah, this one. And then it does your bidding.
And you also need to be able to, ideally, you want to be able to interrogate HAL about why the fuck did bot 1 do that?
Yeah, so then you'd go into sort of like an analysis mode.
Yeah.
Where you start driving at it.
Talking to HAL. Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you made some modifications to it, you should be able to set up like 100 different tests that would all run it slightly differently and give a summary result back, so you'd know if it was better or worse.
Yeah.
Even though you're only making a tiny change. Yeah, no, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
It's pretty good. Is there any flaws? Let me see if I can kick the arse out of this. Any flaws? So you got a hell of a lot of information coming up on the state board, and presumably you can scroll back.
I don't know. Because we're like, the thing is that the state board, if you just showed everything, it can get so big that it breaks the browser very quickly.
Oh, does it? Okay.
So I'd want to sort of like clip it automatically, and then if you want more, you have to sort of like page to get more.
Right. Well, no, that's fine. It's
like we kind of don't want. No one should be looking.
Messages, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No one should be able. No one has any real. Like, you're using the system wrong if you're trying to see all the little bits directly. You're supposed to use HAL.
Yeah. And HAL has access to it all. But the pagination thing is fine.
All right.
How do you, if you kicked off 2 things, I want to buy a dog and I want to go to Sicily, 2 bot swarms, you've only got 1 state chart.
You could show them both on there, but you're better off to sort of be shown a summary where all these children are collapsed, and so the first swarm becomes buy a dog, and the second swarm becomes go on holiday, and you'd initially only see the main commits.
Oh yeah. But if you're in the back end, okay, so rendering, yeah, absolutely, we need to paginate. But if you then asked HAL, saying, okay, let's look at the bot swarm around buying a dog, then that's just a filter, right?
Yep, that's just a filtered view. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, and you can do arbitrary filters, as many topics as you've got going at one time. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
That works. Yeah, that stands up.
Yep.
Cool. I have no idea whether that's actually answered your question, but it seems to come to a good place at the end. Yeah, did it?
Yeah, that answered my question. Yep. Yeah. That's good. That's something to build that is not a huge undertaking, is essential, and can have a shitty version first. That sort of ticks all my boxes there.
And also the useful side effect of probably possibly being able to recreate every app that's ever been written. Yeah, we'll see if that actually does work. But maybe a few edge cases.
That's a bit bold, but yeah, sure, sure. Um, yeah, okay. So, and one last thing, what I'll do is, let's say that bot 3 was actually another swarm,
Mhm.
because bot 1 and bot 2 are visually children of swarm. I
Mhm.
would collapse them to the left and
Mhm.
then allow you to sort of unfold them as well. So they'd sort of start rolled up like a paper towel roll, and
Right.
then you'd roll it out across the page if you wanted to see more.
Yeah, that works. I mean, swarms. In this instance, it makes sense, but it's actually a task, and you can have multiple tasks.
Yeah, that's right.
So
And the
here's
inner
what works.
workings of it are sort of not,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. Give me a pizza, and I want to run for parliament, for example. Yeah.
right, right, right. And yeah, okay. Okay, that's fun. So the next thing I wanted to ask about was with this example that you gave me. This is a good example, and I will continue to work with it to make sure that the UI can handle it well.
Mhm.
Can you make me one for ambient attribution? Because what you've
I
asked for
probably
something,
can. Yeah, because
yeah.
I dodged that and said,
You
I did
just
see.
keep on touching it. Oh,
I
that's
did see
funny.
yesterday that was going to dodge that, but yeah, yeah, I think I can because
When I look at
it's
the thing you
very similar
supplied me,
task.
when you look at what you supplied me, I don't know exactly how to morph it into ambient attribution, but it gives me the distinct feeling that you have enough tools and skill to do ambient attribution now using this
Yes,
type of thing.
yeah, I
And
agree. And if I don't know how much time you've got left, if you can get that video up, that'd be really helpful. The audio that you sent over was great, but you're very loud and I'm very quiet.
yeah,
Um, so it's a bit
yep,
funky.
I got another half hour, so I think we're nearly done now. I'll move on and get those videos up for you.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, if you can give me this story type thing, like this is perfect. This is exactly what I'm looking for, but I need one in for ambient attribution.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that given the conversation yesterday, I think we got in sync
Right.
about what we're
Yeah.
actually asking.
And
So I can
but
do the same thing. Yeah.
additionally,
Mm-hmm.
one of the drivers on why I'm asking for an ambient attribution one is I just need some different use cases, because the
Mm-hmm.
use cases you've put forwards are reasonably similar. I need to
Mm-hmm.
understand some different use cases as well. So I've got the CRM use case. That's a
Mm-hmm.
good different one, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
just looking for, maybe if we had half a dozen uses that we agreed were valid but were quite disjoint from each other, then I'd
Mm-hmm.
start to feel a bit safer, like we got.
Okay, so this use case is really about collaborating on a single natural language artifact.
Hmm,
There's another use case which is obvious, which is to query an external data source, which will require a tool that can fake the tool. Um, there's another one which is to um, interact with a database in order to carry out specific tasks. So that's a third. There's probably a couple more. There's probably only a handful of general case.
it's not infinite, right? The number of
Yeah,
things you want to do.
I suspect that it's quite small actually.
Yeah,
Um,
and you can cover like 90% of the possibility space with probably a dozen different things.
right, right, and yeah, okay. So, well, there's three obvious ones, and then there's possibly a fourth, which is uh, attribution is actually a specific case of building a swarm, um,
Right.
which is distinct from actually
The swarm being used for attribution makes me feel safer that I got a fair deal, because the
Mhm.
swarm looks like that court you were illustrating earlier of a bunch
Yeah,
of adversaries arguing with each other,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
with some kind of oversight to stop them chattering forever. Like,
yeah.
that's really what I think a judge does in a court case, is they sit there and make sure it concludes.
Yes, with authority that both adversaries agree that what the judge says
Mm,
is final. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
mm.
Okay, so right. So what you're asking for is number one. Right. So number one is do the same thing for attribution. Number two is to get a number of prototypes or prototypicals, whichever, of examples, so we can kick the arse out of the edge cases,
Mm.
of which there's probably quite a small number, and name three there, and I can do that by tomorrow. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, um, yeah. That's cool. That's cool.
All right, and lastly, the where I'm at with getting the actual platform up and running is what I've realized I need to do is make, I think, a system chain. So in the Deno deployment,
Mm-hmm.
I had been running off, pure database, basically, up to a point where now suddenly there's these repositories, and now you start, so for example, how to create a repository was not a repository action. It was a conventional programming action that interacts with the database and does this and that, and
Mm-hmm.
it spits it out. But
Mm-hmm.
what my current thinking is to make a system chain
Mm-hmm.
that is responsible for top level things like drop the database, or
Mm-hmm. So
you
these
know
are isolates actually to
yeah,
make
so it's
actions.
actually running an isolate in this top level chain. It's like the highest level chain in the system that represents the entire this instance of Deno deploy.
Yeah.
And the benefit of it being a chain is, first of all, I get all that atomic locking that I spent so much effort on for doing commits. It now applies to the system level,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I don't
Nice.
have to make a separate set of locks and
Right.
mechanisms for doing sweeping system-wide changes. I just rely on the commit thing. So that's one benefit. But the other benefit is hyperconvergence, where anyone who has sufficient permissions can, from within an isolate, within a branch, interact with the Deno deploy system chain
Mm-hmm.
using, so we can get HAL to do things that affect the infrastructure of Deno
Yeah.
deploy.
Sorry, I've
Because
got another incoming call. I'm just going to cancel it. Give me a sec.
okay,
Yeah, sorry about that. That
I'm
was
good.
Juice's mother, and really, she's at the top of the hierarchy, so I need to get back to her. But anyway,
Okay, alrighty.
uh,
So it's gonna go system chain, and then the first thing it makes is a super user chain,
mhm.
and then the super user has the power to add other users to the system. Um, that
Yeah, okay,
enables things like a sign up loop where you can come in as anonymous and then you go via GitHub and then you come back and now you've been given your own user chain.
right,
And
okay, yeah, that makes sense.
below, or spliced into your user chain becomes all the repos that you clone and work on, and all that. So
Right, okay, so it's
that's the
essentially
structure, I think.
it's an RBACs where the various levels go right up to system level,
Top
which
level system, and
are just
it's
artifacts
isolates.
themselves.
It's
Yeah,
isolates all
isolates.
the way.
Yeah,
Is what I'm how I'm building it, and I can't think of anything wrong with that. It seems to make things simpler. It just, yeah, it was just wasn't how I thought things would go, but you know,
It seems sensible. Maybe
it's
there's a
it's
better
kind of
solution
funny.
out there in
Yeah,
AI world, but
yeah. It
find
should
that
be enough to get
sensible.
it should be enough to get going. I like it because it's uniform at every level,
Yeah.
and it has the benefit of doing hard things like locking, um, using one single mechanism that I can test thoroughly and use it all over. Now,
Yeah.
the thing about um, that is that I realized that from the point of view of the system chain,
Mm.
looking down at all the users, that's just the CRM. Like
Mm-hmm.
the CRM for the trucking guys is the same tool that we can use to manage our users on the platform,
Yeah.
because it's all just it's
Yeah. It's like what you have sight of and what you have
yeah,
access to.
and we would have sight of, user accounts just like they have sight of user accounts. And so whilst the operations may be slightly different, the mechanics, which is here's a big list, a potentially very large list of customers, and I want to do things like I want to send everyone an email. I want to do this, a credit check on all these people. I want to blah, 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 blah.
Mm.
So we can start using that CRM as like our core, that's our admin interface, and we can make it browsable to all our users. So because we can make sure we don't store private data on there, you can be using the system and you can look up and see the system chain that's hosting you
Mm-hmm.
and have limited interaction with it, just like how the mainframes of old used to be, I guess.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially, CRM is it's just an RBAC with access to certain artifacts. Some of those artifacts will be data, some will be isolates.
Yep. Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
same all
So
throughout.
so that's I think that I have clarity on how to add users to the system, and so I'm going to pursue that line of building. I really hope it takes one more day because I've sort of sketched it out. Feeling pretty good about it.
Cool.
Hmm.
Right. Nice.
Okay.
Okay. Right. I better give.
I better-
I call her OIC, Officer in Command. Give her a call back. So tomorrow.
Yeah, the commander of my commander is definitely my commander.
Well, happiness is knowing what the hierarchy is, right?
Is that is that dot down the bottom me? Yeah, okay.
I will get on doing a version of what I did yesterday with
Awesome.
attribution, and I'll get a suggested set of prototypes together.
Sweet.
About how to kick the edges out of this, but yeah, good.
All right, buddy. I'll get
All right,
those videos up and I'll speak tomorrow.
Nice one. All right.
Okay, bye.
See you.